Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geek Cause podcast. I am so excited to introduce a very special guest here today.
Is it me?
It's definitely not you. I don't care about you.
Damn it.
Corey, please bless us with your beautiful voice.
Hello. I was really hoping to have a soundboard prepared so I could have some applause and things, but oh well. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Please enlighten anyone that's listening about your background in online presence and video games and your own stuff real quick so we can kind of get an idea of who you are.
Word. So I have been playing video games poorly my entire life. I stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/Kerbosi. I'm sure you'll have links or something, maybe.
Of course.
I do some YouTube stuff with guitar effects pedals and vlogging and cinematography and photography and basically anything to do with tech and movies and video games. It's my wheelhouse.
Yes, and then so me and Corey have known each other for a very long time, Kyle, just so you know. So
He was telling me to expect some weird shit.
yeah, some weird shit might happen depending on what goes on during this recording, but we'll see what happens as we go along. But yeah, super excited to have you on. Talked about having you on since the very beginning, so it's nice to finally get you on here and get your opinions. I love listening to you talk on subjects because you have so much good to say. So I know it's going to be a really interesting podcast. Aside from that... Oh, no.
I don't know about interesting to say, but I'm pretty sure you mean I'm just way too passionate about my probably wrong opinions, but sure.
I mean, yes. So that's the thing, is that you're always passionate about what you believe in, right? Even if it maybe isn't a popular opinion or isn't necessarily, I don't know if you can be right or wrong on an opinion, but you always have a reason for everything that you believe, and I think that's really important nowadays, instead of just blindly saying something and it's just because that's just how it is.
I feel like I should have some dramatic music playing in the background, like the music that plays while the Titanic is sinking.
Right, because I mean that might be necessary. Maybe like Semper Crisis, because I'm pretty sure all of my opinions are correct. So
all right, yeah, well. There's the first wrong opinion.
Yep.
Let's go on to just talking about...
Getting
him out of the way. Other than, talking about yourself in general, how have you been lately, Corey? Tell us about some stuff that you've been working on lately and just what's been going on in your life.
Word. Well, I don't know if I've told you yet, but 2 days ago, my short film that I just finished with my buddy Nathan called Mad Lonely got accepted to our first festival in Portugal.
Oh, wow. No, you didn't tell me that.
Yeah, so we've been basically just applying to a bunch of festivals, and the first one that got back to us was a festival in Portugal called Mental, which is it's all about mental health and stuff like that, and our film is about depression and FOMO basically. So that's pretty exciting. We're in the process of getting a DCP made with Portuguese subtitles, and that'll be underway pretty soon. So that was cool because we've already got our first rejection, but now we finally got our first acceptance.
That's super cool. I'm super excited. I've been wanting to watch this for a long time now. It's been... How long have you been working on finishing up and doing all this stuff?
Well, I started shooting it right after camp in 2017. So August 2017 is when we started it, and I just wrapped the edit May of 2019. So
nice. So I guess it hasn't been that long. It just feels like a long time because I've had an eye on it for quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, 2 years is quite a while for a 10-minute short film, but I was doing all of the post work, so I did all of the sound design, all of the mixing, all of the color grading, all of the editing, everything.
Right.
The credits are going to look really interesting when it's just all your name.
I had joked about literally typing up all the things, because on set too, I was doing basically teaching assistant to do audio and controlling the audio and doing all the lighting and doing the camera up, and I even directed a little bit. So if I did that, it would be ridiculous.
I mean, you could just put code everything and then your name, and then it's like fine because on everything you put like, oh, this is the main person, this is the main person, but then you just put you on everything. Overall, this movie would not be possible without me. Thanks for watching this.
Or just compile them all to like the very end and just have a big block of credits that are just
your name, but in different fonts.
No, it's cool though because it was basically a collaboration with like one of my older friends, Nate Jackson. So we completely worked on it together, and we had a lot of really talented people help us with like the acting roles and stuff. Like our buddy Phil Vasquez and Ryan Burrell from high school were both in it. We had a bunch of people that Nate met in New York in it. We had this really talented woman named Kana Hatakama who was just brilliant in it. So it was cool to work through that for my first short film and basically be involved with most of it because it gave me a taste of like legitimately doing all the parts of making a film. So
right, something that you could see yourself wanting to do again in the future. Maybe not all the parts of it, but like maybe working on helping with.
Oh,
some
dude,
of that stuff?
I can't wait until I can just shoot it and then wipe my hands clean of the project. That'll be the most blissful day when the shooting's over and I'm like, all right, I guess I'll see you guys when it's time to color this.
Yeah, I get it.
It was a lot of work. So that I'm currently working on an episode of my new vlog series that I'm going to do, just kind of pumping out a bunch of content. I graduate in a year, so I'm going to get portfolio and websites all together. I'm dabbling in starting wedding photography soon too, so we're crushing it, dude.
That sounds awesome. I'm super happy for you. It's nice to see you going out there and doing the stuff that you love to do as work, you know? That's something that I've always thought that you did a good job at, was making sure that you're getting out there and just doing the things that you like to do, you know?
Yeah.
Do you think we should do a Geek Cause review of the short film?
Yeah, maybe we could, once it's all done and out there, we could do a review of the short film, and then maybe you could get on and talk to us about it and kind of give us your sort of opinions on why you went the directions that you did.
Yeah, we'll see.
yeah, we'll see. That means as soon as this happens, I'm deleting you off of everything and never talking to you again.
No, I mean it's going to be a long process to get through festivals and stuff like that. So I don't know what that time frame even looks like, and I can send you a link to a private screener if you do want to see it, though. I'd be happy to get your opinion because I feel like because I finished it and I feel as though I did a pretty damn good job with all things considered. I feel like most people, especially in their early work, just absolutely despise it. So I think, right? Like you always hear people are like, "Oh yeah, all my early work was completely garbage."
Yeah, and I hate it, and
yeah, and I think we did a really good job on literally a no-budget film. Again, I was doing everything, so
right.
Obviously we couldn't like pay that much help. You know, our actors were super gracious to lend us their time and their apartments, and it was an insane process, and we couldn't have done it without all of them. But we definitely did it with no money.
Sometimes that's what it takes.
The biggest budget was my plane tickets. So.
And then you worked on everything. Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
So Kyle, how about you? How are things in your life lately?
Nothing near as exciting as that.
Yeah. Well,
it's kind of like you've set the bar pretty high now, so everything else is just going to sound really boring.
Yeah, it's we should have ended with Corey, so it sounded a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try and make this sound interesting. Well, I haven't been up to much. I've spent the week doing landscaping a botanist landscape.
Yard work. That's a pretty way to say yard work.
No, it's botany.
Yeah, yes, botany.
It's botany. It's very professional and very serious. We get to go to a festival in Peru soon.
Yeah, for botany?
For botany.
Okay.
It's just true. You laugh at me, but it's true.
Okay,
you see me.
Okay, I'll see you. I'll see you on TV very soon.
Oh,
right on Sky.
It won't be on TV. They can't afford cameras.
Oh, they can't afford cameras.
I'm just going to someone's back garden in Peru to look at plants.
Oh, I hate you.
You love me.
Anything actually interesting or cool
No, really, absolutely nothing. I've
First
been
of all,
sleeping.
that was incredibly rude. That sounded awesome.
Yeah, see? Someone gets it.
Albeit incredibly false.
It's true. Jen, I've been doing nothing. Biding my time till Comic-Con on Saturday.
Oh yeah, I'm super excited for Dublin Comic Con.
And then to get drunk on Sunday.
What's going on Sunday?
Family stuff.
Oh yeah, we have a family
You forgot
barbecue
that.
that I'm a part of.
You're like cooking most of the food.
Yeah. All right, so that's we'll just transition that into me. This last week I haven't been doing too much. Near the beginning of last week, me and Corey actually were playing some Divinity 2. If anybody's interested in watching a stream that Corey was talking about with him that is in control of it and us playing some Divinity 2, it's a really fun game, and you can check him out at what's your Twitch channel?
Kerbosi.
Kerbosi.
Rbosee.
We've been having a fun time with that, getting really frustrated at how annoying the game is, especially in this later stages when we're just like, please, we're 100 hours in, let us end this game.
See, but if we didn't cheese 90% of the game, we'd be much better off right now.
If we didn't cheese 90% of the game, we probably wouldn't even be where we are because we would have had to find a way to get through it normally.
Yeah, they need a little bit more grindy aspect to the early parts of the game, so you can.
I think what it is
a little bit.
We're just bad. I'm not gonna lie. I think that we just don't. we were too interested in building what we thought would be fun instead of what we thought would actually get us through the game.
That very much seems like
Ooh,
you.
fire daggers! Yeah, I'm gonna throw those. They do like 4 damage to everything.
Hey, to be fair, we've respect a couple of times, and I think we've pulled some pretty intense fights out of our ass.
That's true. Other than that, though, yeah, I'm just getting ready for all this family stuff that's gonna be going on. I'm really excited to have everybody here and meet some of the people that I haven't met in person yet. Getting really excited for Dublin Comic Con. Go there. Me and Kyle are gonna shoot some stuff and kind of talk over like what we're seeing and if there's anything interesting going on there. It'd be really cool. Other than that, though, we're just kind of doing this. I mean, I've been focusing a lot of time on researching stuff to talk about and just looking at more stuff, figuring out what else we can do for the podcast. So it hasn't been a whole lot of super interesting things like you've been doing, Corey, but you know, we try.
Yeah, there's a lot of downtime.
But aside from that, speaking on the podcast today, I really want to talk about how excited I am to talk about all the stuff here because I've been like really thinking about it since we've been.
Yeah, there's some really good stuff.
There's some really good topics that we got today. Stuff that's just as far as talking about popular people, going all the way into a little bit more controversial stuff. And I think each one of us kind of all have really good opinions and talking points that we want to get to. So if everybody's in agreement, let's go ahead and get started.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's start off with today's first topic, which is Ninja leaving Twitch to start streaming on Mixer.
Traitor.
Is that your hot take right now?
No, not at all.
So we have basically what's going on is popular Twitch streamer Ninja. Like everybody knows who Ninja is, even if you don't even follow streaming, really. You know that Ninja is a Twitch streamer, very popular for Fortnite. Has actually left Twitch and has joined Mixer, pretty much exclusivity deal, right?
Yeah.
And is exclusively streaming on Mixer, and he just decided to leave all of his fan base on Twitch just to kind of start on this new... I mean, Mixer's been out for a while. It's just less used than Twitch.
Yeah, because Twitch is obviously Twitch. If you're going to stream, you're going to use Twitch.
I mean, that's what most people think, right? But, you know, obviously there's something that inspired Ninja to go over to Mixer. And, you know, me and Kyle quickly kind of talked about it. We're trying to figure out what the reasoning of him doing this was. Was it just the monetary aspect that Mixer is giving, or what's going on with this? So we kind of want to hear your opinion on this.
Yeah, so first, we should probably start by saying all partners on Twitch have an exclusive agreement. So when you sign up to be a partner on Twitch, especially if you're a video game streamer, in your contract it says that you're actually not allowed to stream video games on any other platform.
Is it strictly only video games?
I'm sure depending on what kind of streamer you are, that probably matters. I imagine if you're a music streamer, then you can't do music somewhere else. But as far as I know I can verify like for sure that when you're a gamer on Twitch, part of your contract, you will have an exclusivity agreement. So like you couldn't like multi-stream to YouTube and Twitch. That's why you don't see that happening.
Right, makes sense.
With partners. So obviously Mixer's going to have an exclusivity agreement, and it's a big pull. I don't know if you know, I'm sure you do, but if you out there don't know, Mixer is owned by Microsoft. So there's a lot of money backing the platform, and much like any endeavor that Bezos puts into, if you have the right backing, you're just not going to let it fail.
Right, exactly.
Currently Ninja has a deal that they're doing that you just have free subs for, I think it's a month or maybe 2.
I saw that. You get a free month if you get a free month of subscription to him on Mixer.
So what would have had to happen on the platform is like his contract, he probably had like what do they call it? It's something like a guaranteed minimum. It's the same deal with like when you're a football player and you get drafted onto a team, right? So you get,
sports.
They'll say like 40 million over 3 years, like half guaranteed or whatever. That guaranteed is what you get regardless. I assume the revenue that they're just going to eat from that sub, because like they're probably just eating the sub revenue as a part of his contract, and then he'll also have a guaranteed minimum. So the payout was probably pretty intense. Like obviously he has last I looked over like I think 850,000 followers.
Yeah, we looked yesterday and it was just over 700,000. So that means in less than 24 hours he's already up an additional 100 and something thousand.
Right. So if you go into Mixer and you look at like their categories, it appears that like the highest amount of viewership on like most of the top viewed games and categories like music and stuff is usually around like 4,000 to 5,000. When I looked when Ninja was streaming last, Fortnite had I think 55,000 viewers, and almost 52,000 of them were watching Ninja. So like I don't have the information in front of me, but I think there's something like 67,000 streams signed up on Mixer right now when there's like 500,000 or more. I don't know.
It's a ridiculous amount. It's like it's a lot on Twitch.
Right. So, I mean, there's a lot that you can speculate on why someone would do this. I think Microsoft is a lot of things, so I'm not sure that I would like hedge my bets with them over Big Daddy Bezos. But I mean, if the money's up front and it's there, and maybe Ninja wants to kind of redefine himself as a different type of streamer. I know some of the functionality in Mixer is a little different than Twitch. There's some features and stuff that's not quite the same, and I know a lot of people just assume it's kind of like a Twitch copy, but I think it's not.
It's a lot different.
It's got its merits, and I think there's room. It's kind of like I would wish there would be something to contend to YouTube, so there wasn't almost a monopoly on content creation, right?
Yeah, so exactly.
I like and I welcome a competition to Amazon, because like it's not like they need more money.
No, it's true. But you're not wrong though.
Right, and like so if Microsoft is gonna really pull punches and make that a decent thing, that just means there's a little bit more dough for the creators involved. So like maybe if you get in on Mixer right now, in a year and a half, like you'll be the big, say I start my guitar stream and I'm not going to leave Twitch. I'm an Amazon affiliate. I'm a Twitch affiliate. So I don't plan to move anytime soon, but say I did, and I did exclusively my FYEP stuff on Mixer, I could very easily be one of the top partnered Mixer streamers, probably. It's a huge opportunity,
it's so fresh still in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and say I already I dabbled on Twitch enough that I'm comfortable with streaming, and then I kind of rebrand, make sure all my gear's up to snuff, and then I just start crushing on Mixer. I look like I'm a partnered streamer, right? Because all these there's so many people on Twitch that have just as high quality a stream as, say, like one of my favorite streamers is Lucid Fox. But Lucid Fox has been in the game for a minute, so people are going to see him more. He's front page on Twitch all the time. And people are going to go watch him instead of my similar style stream playing similar games. And, you know, I'm who I am, but now I have a chance because it's a fresh and also well-backed platform. So it's exciting. There's a lot of unknowns, but I hope it does well.
Right. No, I definitely agree. Kyle, what about you? What's your kind of thought process on this? Do you think this is a good move, and why do you think that it kind of happened? And
I think for him, not just as a streamer, but now he's not just a streamer anymore. He's practically a brand at this point.
Yeah.
He could stick his name on anything and it'd sell. So I suppose he kind of has to treat himself that way. And recently enough, you know, people have been speculating about him like being depressed or hating streaming and stuff like that, just not enjoying it. So maybe the move to Mixer is kind of a way to kind of whittle down his audience and try get new people in
and get a fresh take on kind of what's
kind of
going on.
like a soft reboot of himself.
Right, like I was saying, like it's a great opportunity to do that, and he's definitely a brand. I mean, the guy's on freaking Red Bull cans, so
yeah,
like he has plenty. Like it's not necessarily a money thing. I don't think. Like the dude's got to be loaded. So
right,
if he sees a way to be happy and like, hey, maybe this can like. It sounds cheesy because he had a press release that was like, I'm really excited to try and like do blah blah, you know, PR.
Yeah, exactly.
And like people laugh, but like, kinda. Like I can go be whoever the heck I want to be. I could be New Ninja now, and it's just Ninja streaming over here, and I do my thing. It's like, oh, this is weird. Yeah, I'm on Mixer though, so this isn't Twitch. Stop asking me why I don't do that or whatever. Right. I don't know.
It has me wondering too if like what sort of I guess rules and sort of policies that are different on Mixer, and if maybe that's another reason, if maybe he feels less constricted, if he feels like he has a little bit more freedom to what he's doing. Because I mean, like you guys are saying, he was so heavily what he was on Twitch. You think of Twitch and Ninja, you think of Fortnite stream, him acting a certain way, him for the most part doing like the same things. He had you saw him and that was his persona. But now that he's going over to Mixer, he has the ability to kind of, maybe he changed what his persona is a little bit more. Maybe he acts a little less kid-friendly. Maybe he acts a little more kid-friendly. Maybe he starts pushing maybe he feels like he doesn't have to only play Fortnite. You know what I mean? Maybe he can feel like he can go into different... It's definitely, I think that is definitely part of it. It really, really makes me wonder, though, if how much of it, though, is kind of money related, in the fact of him doing this, he's going to lose. I mean, how many followers did he have on Twitch? Does anybody here know?
A follower is over 1 million for him.
So and he definitely had over 1 million followers, and now he's starting to get his follower count up again. I mean, like you said, it's already at 800 and something. So obviously he's going to get that back. But you have to think of all the people that don't use Mixer, don't want to use Mixer, that probably won't make that transition. I wonder how much of a hit he'll take to his... And obviously not that much if he's already at over 800,000. But I wonder if he got enough of a payout just in case. You know, there had to have been some sort of like
monetary compensation in case things don't work out.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you're dealing with not a person and not even necessarily a brand. You're dealing with an entity that generates a lot of income. And he would have had, like I said, he's got to have a fat minimum. Like you're asking a very comfortable streamer to take the biggest risk of his career as a streamer. So like that's not to take that lightly, but also I would probably take a huge hit if it basically means I'm the big daddy he's the PewDiePie of Mixer right now.
Yeah.
I
mean, everybody's talking about him. He is the number one. Yeah. So like
that's true. That's true. But how much was he not on Twitch though? I mean, it's not like you didn't think the same thing when he was at Twitch.
But
like
I think it was a case where he was like he was big boy on Twitch, but he was the big boy but didn't get any. It wasn't any further than just, oh yeah, you're a big streamer.
So so what you're saying is on Twitch, he was one of the big boys, but right now on Mixer, because it's not as set and there's not as many like popular people around there, he is the big boy now.
And he can pretty much do whatever he wants.
He can make it so now not Twitch, but Mixer is literally synonymous with Ninja.
With more or less, he's took control of a streaming platform.
Right. And so like that's one huge implication of the entire thing, but also like we know from tons of history of drama and all sorts of other stuff that it's probably pretty dicey on Twitch as a platform to just like especially to change like what you want to do or anything. Like I know a lot of the policies, especially for the higher up people, they have a lot of eyes on them. They have a lot of responsibility to do like a certain thing and be a certain thing. So when maybe you have like that 80-20 split and you have, 500,000 subs and you're pulling in fucking bank, like you probably have Suits talking to you more often. He's got to do all this stuff, but now he's going to be dealing with new Suits. It's all fresh. He doesn't feel, you know what I mean? That's all stuff that we could never, and no one will ever be able to quantify or talk about because it's an experience
unless you're
from
him.
one guy.
Yeah.
Right. And like, so it seems on the surface, especially for, a pleb that just really cares about how I create my content. The best thing to ever happen to me was when I lost monetization on YouTube. I got a fire to actually want to make stuff on YouTube again. I was doing my FYP pedal demos and stuff and like, oh, I need to get more views. I need to do this. I need to make sure my stuff's going. And then I lost monetization and I was like, I'm going to make dope stuff. And I was like, what? Why did it take that for me to want to make dope stuff?
Well, I think it's because the implication nowadays is that if you want to be successful and you want to make money and you want to be able, well, if you want to really, when it comes down to is there's people that want to make a living. They don't even want to be super famous, but they want to make a living on these platforms. But because of, and what it is because everyone now it's like the market's so flooded and there's so many people that are popular there, and there's so much more eyes and scrutiny on what they do, that it means that all the smaller people who like, okay, maybe they say fuck one too many times or something like that, but now it's causing them to lose monetization and views on what they're doing, which means they're losing the money that's actually a livelihood to them. And so now, when like with the whole stuff that's like constantly everyone always talks about YouTube's rules and policies on stuff, and how nowadays it's to the point where, in the first minute on YouTube videos, you can't even swear. Otherwise there's a 85% chance that you'll get immediately demonetized because of their algorithms picking up that and blocking. So now you have people that, I have YouTube channels that I watch of people that are big and people that aren't so big, that now they basically have to change what their sort of who they are and turn it into something completely different. And I'm not saying that it's not good for the people, because yes, there are a lot of channels and there's a lot of creators out there that maybe promote and do really bad and negative things, and these platforms don't want to be seen as accepting that, but it's making it so these rules are cracking down, and it's creating an environment where now everybody's censoring everything that they do just in case something happens. So I'm wondering, that's what I'm saying, I wonder what's over at Mixer right now, and if because there's not as much scrutiny on the platform, if as well, because I mean, you think about it, anytime Ninja did anything wrong, it was like a huge shitstorm and a big huge he said this bad word and it made people upset, and you have to be held accountable for your actions when you're that famous. I get that, but when Twitch can barely make up their mind of, like, one person can do something really offensive and they get banned for 30 days, and then another person who's just not well known does the same thing and nothing happens to them, it's kind of like, well, where are these rules coming from?
That's just the price of doing business, though. Especially, like, you don't need to crack down on the guy that's not even a Twitch affiliate. He can do whatever, and maybe it gets seen, but maybe it doesn't. Whatever. What was his viewership? 10? Neat. Okay. Well, I'm not really going to care to do anything to that guy right now because he doesn't have 1,000, 50,000, 75,000 people watching.
Right.
And he also isn't contractually obligated to be doing something. See, the thing that people forget, especially with something like YouTube, is they're providing you a service, and it's, again, you have contracts. There are TOS on everything that you sign up for.
Oh yeah.
And it's, again, it's hard because I am a content creator on so many different platforms, but I have to go with, if you really want your stuff to be seen independently, there's ways to release your stuff. If you want to use YouTube, you have to play their game. And yeah, you should be held more accountable if you have 50,000 12-year-old kids watching your stream.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just it's a sticky subject for the people that run these websites. I know Twitter has gotten a lot of flack for the way they handle, controversial stuff on their website. But again, it's like when you're at a university and people are like, well, freedom of speech. It's like, well, freedom of speech, except we're a private institution.
Yeah.
So that doesn't work here. Sorry, bud.
Well,
it's like that's how that works. That's like how we can have discourse and things can be still somewhat safe.
That's kind of my what I'm going for is that like I get it. I'm in complete agreement with that. Is these people do seem to forget that these are, yes, freedom of speech, but these freedom of a lot of things, but these are private businesses that have the right to control what you say and what you do, because they're not, public. They're not something that their business, whatever they want to support, whatever they want to do, that's fine on them. People can decide whether or not they want to affiliate themselves with that. Right. There's a lot of businesses that I don't agree with their practice. I mean, you can look at, there's tons of them, but look at the whole controversy with Chick-fil-A or whatever, and their stance on, homosexuality. And it's like, okay, that, it sucks that they do that, but that's not something that you can just close down the whole business for. As much as I hate them for doing that, and I'll never want to go, you know what I mean? I'll never want to go there and eat food.
Right. Yeah.
It's still not anybody's ability to cancel them and completely eradicate them because they're not happy that they don't have that.
Right. See, the root of the matter, though, is that you don't have a EULA and a TOS to go to Chick-fil-A, and you do sign that when you make an account on these websites.
Yes.
So you don't have a choice if you sign up and you didn't read the TOS or you didn't read the EULA agreement.
That's
sorry,
on you.
dude. It's literally, and nobody does. Let's be real. I've read my Twitch agreement because I take that very seriously.
But you're also affiliated as well at this point. So it's like, if you don't read that, that's something that you could lose all of that for.
Yeah.
Right. And that's not a big deal. It's especially now. I got Twitch affiliate when it was still decently difficult to get, but now you literally just need to stream for 7 days or something and have 50 follows, and you automatically can sign up to be an affiliate. But so I know people aren't reading the agreement now, but it's like you still have responsibility. It's not quite as strict as a partner, and you're not signing contracts like that, but you still sign a TOS and a EULA when you use this stuff. So again, maybe you want to say all this hate speech and you want to do all this. There are methods to hosting your own servers to put your videos on and put them on the internet. Good luck, bud.
Yeah, so I think I mean, we obviously got a little sidetracked there, but that's fine. But I think what it comes down to is there's a reason for, Ninja leaving, and I think there probably are a lot of people out there that kind of have that sentiment that you joked about at the beginning, where it's like, oh, traitor, or, oh, why is he doing that? He's only doing it for the money. But I guess if you kind of look at it as a big picture, you're kind of seeing that it's not.
Yeah, and
it's not just about that, because he already has a ton of money, so why would he need...
Yeah, if someone goes, oh, we're going to pay you $2 million, he's probably like, I already have a couple of million.
Right, and everybody can just shut up. So he did it for the money. If that was the case, you would have too. You're just mad that you didn't.
Yeah, make that... It's
money, dude. What the fuck?
Make that money.
When did poor people start being so two-faced? And they're like, first of all, I would sell out yesterday if I had the option. So
that's the sellout culture, though, right? Of where people still that's been around for years, where people think that if someone is doing something to benefit themselves, even if it's not something that's that bad or anything like that, they're called sellouts, and then people want to cancel them and want to get rid of them. It's
they can't make money.
Yeah, it's a tale as old as time. Oh, my favorite band got popular and now they're doing big shows. Oh, I hate them now. I liked them before everyone else did. They're sellouts now. It's like, or they're just able to actually make a living now.
I know you're upset about Coheed. You don't need to project.
Shut up. Long story short, I think we're all kind of in the agreement that Ninja did nothing wrong. He went to Mixer. He's trying something new. Let's see what happens.
I think it's just that Mixer has blackjack and hookers and Twitch doesn't.
Yeah.
Because Twitch has banned all the blackjack and hookers. Because it breaches their terms of services.
Competition's cool, and I hope Mixer is really successful and we get, content a little bit more spread out. At this point, like, we have the space. I'd like to see, Twitch is pretty locked into how they're going to be doing things. I'd love to see somebody else successfully do something that's a little different, because it could generate ideas to make different content. Most streamers on Twitch look like Twitch streamers. I'd like to see that shift a little.
I was about to say most streamers on Twitch, they have to follow this similar format and go by the same exact thing. Otherwise, they don't get anything. And if we can switch that up a little bit, I'm fine with that. I might start streaming on Mixer. Here I go. I'm gonna be number 2 Mixer streamer after. It's guaranteed.
I stream on Mixer and everything.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. There you go. We already have one start in one person starting, and we can see if he's famous in a year.
Yeah.
Well,
you'll see me in
knock
Ninja.
It out. Flossing on Ninja in Fortnite. I hope.
That's my dream now.
I can't believe that game isn't dead.
It should be. But anyways, on to the next topic.
Speaking about things that everybody's wondering how they're still alive.
Yeah, that's a good segue. GameStop. Last week we talked about their changes?
Yeah, it was last week we talked about how they're they're talking about doing rebranding.
Yeah, well, this week they've laid off 50 field leaders, which would be regional managers, district managers, HR, and loss prevention managers. Just across the board.
And they sent out a statement, right? They sent out a statement pretty much saying like, oh, we're super excited to do this this rebranding, and we've got some changes to do this. Unfortunately, these changes result in 50 field leaders losing their positions.
Sadly, we require a blood sacrifice to do this.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting. I mean, you would expect that, right, in a rebranding?
Yeah, you'd expect a bit of like a, Stalin's purge kind of thing. Kind of take out a bunch of people to mix things up. It's easier to move around 3 groups of people than 20 groups of people.
I think the thing that's kind of like, it's odd about this, though, is usually it's a little bit on the lower end of people that are kind of shuffled off. But right now we have a bunch of
the grunts that would get the axe.
Yeah, but we're seeing 50 field leaders, and apparently it's because they're doing a bunch of like rezoning, and certain districts are changing who's in charge of them. But it's still really odd to see if like 50 whole people in regional managers, district managers, HR, loss prevention managers, all those people that you would think would probably be the very few that would keep their positions are losing it. And it's making, me and Kyle kind of did like a quick talk of it, yesterday, and we were saying how this actually potentially could be a good thing, despite it being people losing their job. But it might be a good thing for GameStop as a whole, because this means that they're kind of, okay, we're having these managers, these upper people, we're kind of taking them out of equation because we don't need 40 managers in one area kind of dictating how things going, because they don't know how each individual store works. And maybe they're going to actually pump up stores on an individual level, the amount of people they have in there and the amount of people that they have watching over the things that are going on. I don't know, Corey, if you saw the sort of rebranding that GameStop plans on doing, but they want to kind of get into sort of retro arcade sort of style of stuff. They want to do more about
they want to do that, and they want to
do
some e-gaming and everything like that. It's just so it's really weird to focus in on one aspect of this, because it appears that there's some other sidebars like that are happening with the money that runs through. Somebody on that Reddit post had mentioned like Spring Mobile's acquisition from Prime Communications. And that makes a lot of sense because they're moving a lot of things when GameStop was trying to be an AT&T retailer. And then, you have, so how many parent companies has owned freaking GameStop over the last 20 years?
Probably a lot.
Like 3 big ones. And then I know they were buying up a bunch of, like, basically just trying to figure out how to move their money into a positive direction by buying like all these little electronics places. And obviously they bought EB Games however long ago.
That was quite a while ago now.
And so it just, why would you move just like people that are working at your store when you don't need to like reteach them how to be or do what they're doing? It just appears like they don't really know what the hell they're doing. And if you, especially, we all have had probably some pretty trash district and regional managers if we've worked in retail.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, I was really lucky that I didn't have to stay in retail very long, but I met some of the people at Toys R Us, like above my manager Carrie and everything, that
I
were
remember
just
Carrie.
like Carrie was a good human to me. But the people that like ran the district and stuff were garbage. And
Oh, of course.
like it's I can't speak. It always sucks to see people get let go of jobs and things like that, and that's hard. But when you're trying to basically put your company on life support and completely rebrand one of the things that, like, I'd say quote unquote a true gamer kind of poops on nowadays, because everybody kind of scoff, like, who doesn't scoff at GameStop, right? Like,
I mean, yes, it's
Yeah.
kind of like
Just-
it's the punching bag of the gaming world almost at this
Right.
point.
Right. It's low-hanging
because
fruit.
it's like, oh cool, like, I'm gonna go take my games back for trade-ins. I gave them 67 games and they gave me $3. What up?
It's accurate.
It is accurate.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, see, I've had, I got rid of some GameCube stuff back when I was still playing Xbox 360, and they gave me like $138. So I've always had really good results with that. But still, it's like, I don't know. It's hard to have any real opinion on it, because it's definitely going to be sidebar money moves that companies are making. GameStop doesn't seem super huge, but they're a pretty huge company. I mean, a company that's still around after losing like $673 million in 2019.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, obviously they know enough what they're doing to
Yeah.
try and keep it going.
That they don't
They're still-
drown, but they're just kind of flopping about at the moment.
Well, yeah, because it takes a long time for a $10 billion company to lose all their money.
Right.
So, and I'm sure like their used sales still, there's so many locations and things, and you can buy all their used stuff online. I'm sure there's enough people still buying all that stuff that they're not like totally SOL, but
I think this is kind of like what me and Kyle were talking about. It wasn't last week, was it the week before? Or was it when we talked about the subject before about the rebranding? We were kind of saying, what was it that, like, if they do this right and they actually do have a good rebranding and they do the things where they focused on esports and they focus on getting people into play games and actually see the stuff that's going on and make the experience an experience instead of just a place where you buy games, because everyone has always said this. Nowadays, this is what it is about every store, right? Is that if you went to a store for just the reason of buying something, you would just do all your shopping online anyways, on Amazon. Because if I'm just, and this is a big thing, I've worked at retail enough that I know this is the thought process nowadays is, you want people in the store for the service that they get and for like to see you and for the knowledge that you have. And right now, GameStop isn't that, right? Because you can order games online and you can get the same experience as if you were to go inside the store, except for right now in a lot of places, people aren't happy. They don't give you good deals on stuff. They don't have anything that makes you want to be in GameStop. Whereas like back in the day a little bit, back when the focus was on kind of, oh, look at these interesting things that are in our store.
Yeah.
They
You
had
wanted to
events
go.
all the time,
Yeah.
and like, oh, here's a midnight release of this, and we have a lot of cool things going on. Here, come inside and play these games. We have this app that if you come inside, you can download these games and get them for free and play them for the day or something.
Yeah.
And they've lost that over the years because they've just been kind of like saying, well, we'll be the thing where we just worry about the numbers of people buying games, and we'll try to force people to get into our subscriptions and stuff like that. But if they do this rebranding correctly and they actually have people, trying to make it an experience instead of just where they buy stuff, you might actually see a resurgence in the popularity to GameStop, because
I say there's a huge demand. I think we mentioned this before as well, for the likes of like game stores be able to go in and play games.
yeah, it's sort of died off in the 90s, right? When the sort of the video games market kind of was like, we don't know how we feel about stuff. And arcades and all this stuff died off because people were like, I want to play at home where I'm with everybody. But now, as we get further and further into,
There's
the
a resurgence of
lifespan,
it.
people want to go out and do these things.
Yeah.
Look at barcades and how popular those are getting just because you can go and have a drink and play some shitty video games,
Yeah.
which end up not even being real video games. Now, imagine if you could go to a real arcade again and play real games that are out there, and you just can chill, and you can also, while you're there, pick up a used game that you've played before,
Yeah.
or buy a new game that you've seen someone else playing and
Yeah.
you're super excited about.
Buy a T-shirt or a piece of merch or something like that.
Yeah, I mean that's just it. It's a culture thing. It's 100% a culture thing. Every successful brand ever functions off of their culture. You talk to me about like Adidas shoes. I am crazy about them, and it's completely a culture thing. I like how they fit and feel, so I buy them. But like they offer me a lifestyle vibe that I'm into. Games can be like that. GameStop can absolutely be like that, but they let their image and their culture be the shady, I sell my games at a loss to get, an Xbox Live 6-month subscription again.
Yeah.
Like that's all they were. So like if you don't, they own Game Informer. Like I remember Tips and Tricks used to be such a big deal, but like when you run out of people aren't buying that traditional media anymore, and you don't have something to supplement it, you don't have content, you're not doing anything like that, like what are you going to do?
Yeah, you lose a lot.
There's a huge market for somebody to have a physical entity to discuss esports and to discuss all this stuff. So like there's something out there and somebody's going to do it. I'd love to see GameStop pull it off because they have the money and the backing to do it. But like you think of like even the early 2010s or maybe like 2008, 2009, like GameSpot. Like GameSpot had a really dope culture. I was on there watching like MC Chris concerts, and like, they had all the cool like content before it was just like solely on YouTube, because they hosted all their own videos. So you had to go to GameSpot to watch all this really sick exclusive stuff. It's possible, but I think people just like, they don't know how to compete with, that kind of Goliath thing. And I really do think you can create a culture to do it. I mean, you see stuff like Float Plane from the Linus Media Group guys and stuff, and how many people back them on their own platform because they like believe in it and they have a culture through their like company and their image. GameStop definitely could pull that off with retro gaming and esports. Like they could have
easy.
They could make a Goliath if they got the right people that actually knew what the hell is going on.
I think what it comes down to is they need to, a lot of businesses have to realize that things in the last 20 years have went from one way to a different way to back to the other way again.
Yeah.
And they kind of have to get with the times that things aren't going to always be the same as they are. They're going to change, especially with like the way that society is moving nowadays. And so you have to keep up with trends if you want to stay relevant. I mean, you absolutely have to, because no matter how big GameStop was, I feel like they just thought that they could control what was happening. Do you get what I'm saying? Where they could control what the trend was for used video games, video game sales, video game stores, and they kept forcing those certain aspects down your throat of like, oh, money, oh, games can be cheap if you buy used, blah, blah, blah. But now it really isn't. You have a lot of people that, yes, they want cheap video games, but they don't give a shit about cheap video games, whether they're used or not used, if there's not something that, like you said, a nice culture surrounding it that make them feel welcome and make them feel a part of something. You don't feel a part of GameStop now. You don't. You really don't. And I don't think there's a lot of stores where I don't feel like I'm part of any sort of, yes, I'm going to shop at, Kroger because I go in there and I feel great and it's a great grocery store. I don't hear it. Like, what people are like, oh, you know what? Tesco, yeah, that's super great. I love Tesco because it makes me feel welcome. It's just another grocery store. And I feel like all these businesses are sort of losing that sort of edge that they could have with the trend of how we're going into this sort of world where people want to feel a part of something.
Yeah, well, I mean, largely this is kind of like the root of all evil at the moment, in my opinion, and I'll talk about it till I die. Like, it's definitely the hill I'm going to die on, but like it's mostly that I don't think a lot of people, especially companies, take the internet seriously, and by that I mean
no, not at all.
Well, and by that I mean we're still fumbling around. I'd say a solid 10 years into like full-on internet usage, where literally nobody knows what the hell is happening. We don't know where the train is moving, and everybody's playing the short game. Look at the guys that are doing really, really, really well. There's like 5 companies and two of them being Google and Amazon, who own YouTube and everything, it's because they played the long game. They were like, this is going to be, the internet's the most important thing that exists on planet Earth. It
probably always will be.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, it's the most powerful tool, and people think that they can still circumvent like anything, and they can still, willpower. No, it's a machine that won't stop, and you got to ride the wave, and you got to hit it harder than hell. And the only way you're ever gonna, you know what I mean, like do anything significant is, again, those trends that you see. They happen because the few people that have enough room to take the wake head on and not die, they're kind of paving the way, and they're like, well, this is sort of working right now. So you have, like, as somebody who can't, like, I couldn't hit that wake, right? I don't have tens of billions of dollars to like, get a thing. So like, I couldn't just throw my entire savings into something. But GameStop, they're not that big, but they're still almost $10 billion company.
Yeah, they're big.
They're
big enough compared to like what you have.
They're almost a $10 billion company. Yeah, they're traded on the New York Stock Exchange. They're a component of the S&P 600, dude. Like they can totally handle like making something good. They just, and hopefully that's what they're doing. Like that's and like it's weird that it was like, oh well, they're getting rid of like 50 people or whatever. Was that how many it was? Like
it's 50, which is really isn't that much.
So they have 22,000 full-time employees.
Yeah.
So like, and then they have between 25 and 45,000 part-time. Like,
and that's when you look at it too, and you see
that's they're like, well, what are they doing? Like, they're getting rid of trash managers. Like,
well, and if you look at it, you see too, and they give you a map, and you see that those 50 field leaders are literally all they're doing is they're cutting out the amount of districts and stuff like that. Like I said, which all that's doing is meaning that, in my opinion, that they're like, we don't need 4 people looking over a district when we can have one person just make sure that these people on the store levels are just actually focusing on the store. And that's a big thing, right? Is that I think GameStop over the years has been trying too hard to micromanage everything and run it from their perspective.
Yeah.
Instead of just being like, let's let these stores run themselves, because each store is also going to be... The fact of the matter is no matter where you have a GameStop, there's going to be like several that just won't do as well as several others because the amount of population there and also the amount of gamers, you know what I mean? Like there's in Port Huron, where me and Corey are from, there on the north end, there's 2 GameStops. Absolutely not necessary to have them there. Where there could be one on the south end, and there also could be one towards Marysville, but that's just how they built them because they thought that'd be fine.
Yeah.
And it's just those 2 stores don't operate the same though. One definitely gets more business than the other, and it really makes you think, like, it sucks that these people are losing their jobs, but you have to kind of look at it at a different scale. Like, what is that really small one that's connected to a pizza place going to do? How is that going to rebrand and do something?
Well, and it's problematic too, because like you're dealing with like kind of a franchise where these places aren't necessarily like handled the same way. And that's just never going to work, because I have firsthand friends who worked at GameStop for 5+ years, and all the people that were running the actual store were like garbage.
Yeah.
They think that they're like head honcho of the biggest company ever because they work as like a manager for GameStop, but it's like, you still need to report to like your district and your regional managers, and you're like, who the hell are you, 22-year-old guy that like has a high school diploma and
but see,
he's a CEO. Like, what are you doing?
But see, then they report to these, probably one of these 50 that were laid off managers that just have no idea about games whatsoever. My hope is that these field leaders. My hope is that one of these that these field leaders are all people that actually knew nothing about the gaming industry as a whole, because you want to know how you get people to take the sort of culture that you have seriously is you put people in it that actually know what the hell you're talking about. Because right now I can apply for a GameStop and it tells me that gaming knowledge is a optional but preferred sort of thing. That's not how... I'm sorry, there are just certain things that's just not how it should be.
Yeah.
One of the requirements to get in there is you should know something about gaming, because I'm sorry if you don't, and people go in there and ask you questions and you have no idea. You're doing nothing to benefit anybody, and you're making people look at you like, well, you don't know about this, then why the hell would I come here and ask you questions when you have nothing to offer me?
Like, I don't know if you have sex in the States. Not SEX, CEX.
CEX? Is that the rating board?
No, that's a game store.
That's the game store. No, we do not.
You don't have those. Well, we have them here. And they kind of give you that vibe when you go in, the people who are there want to be there. Because how they're set up is that if you own a building and you want it to be a CEX store, all you have to do is contact them, they'll send someone out, look at it, and they'll go, yeah, here's a list of things you have to hit to make, you're on brand with our store, but other than that, it's yours. And that's how they operate.
Huh.
So the stores only exist when the person owning it, like the manager, wants it to exist. So 95% of the time, everyone in there is like, yeah, I'm really passionate about this. This is great.
Yeah, I mean that's only part of the issue, because you could still just have somebody that's like, oh, this could be very profitable, and I mean that's where GameStop's at. But even then, it's like the difference between trying to get computer parts at a Best Buy or going to a Micro Center. You go to a Micro Center, and the dude probably builds like a PC a week, and he's like, you know what, you could totally get, everybody I know that's gone to a Micro Center that I recommended, my buddies in Boston and stuff like that. It's like, hey, I can't help you, but you have a Micro Center like close by, and I'm sure that's probably better than like random dude that that thinks he's good at computers.
Yeah.
Like I've built 30 computers. I just hit 30 this summer. I built 4 computers for camp. Completely chose all the components. And knock on wood, because I still have never had the RMA apart.
Yeah.
But it's those kind of guys that will work at a Micro Center. It's the bro that wants to sell MacBooks to people that work at a Best Buy.
It's so accurate. That's so accurate.
If those are your GameStop employees that are like, yeah, I play Call of Duty, dude. I could sell some video games, bro. Like, sure, man. Like, that's cool. It's like, dude, I played Pokemon once. Like, sick.
I played Pokemon Yellow for 4 seconds.
Yeah. I turned it on and looked at it and went, and closed it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's really, I would love to see, I want to see everybody succeed. So I'd love to see, GameStop hit heavy and be not, because like Twitch is the video game center. They show all the esports. They do a good chunk of the entire industry goes through them by some degree. So it'd be cool to have like boots on the ground style people that have, the money to make it good, backing them, and like get some, we had Extreme Gaming in Port Huron. Could you imagine if GameStop had like, and it would only have to, it'd be like big city ones, like where they would like have a big location, but it's like, hey, we have a LAN center inside of our GameStop.
That's what I was.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. Was like if you're bringing in a local scene as well, so you can have local, like when you go to card shops and you have like a local scene for Magic the Gathering events, and you actually have people that come in and host tournaments and have prizes and do stuff like that. Imagine going to your GameStop and having like a little e-league and having, even if it's only 15 people that go in and are part of it, but you're bringing people in every single time, and you have people that will go in, like people that are like, I'm going to go in there and check this out because my friend's part of this little league that he's, that he does. And they go in and they see somebody playing that game. And they're like, actually, I'm not that into games, but that looks really cool. Like, I'd like to learn about that. And it brings a more, I don't know, it brings a more interesting approach to it, and also can bring in profit for everybody. So it's everybody wins.
Oh, I think LAN is so important, and we're probably one of the last generations that like really effectively felt LAN, because like internet wasn't very good when I was in high school. I graduated in 2010. We would have Halo 2 and Halo 3 parties where we literally got 12 kids at one person's house. Some horribly gracious parent would be like, sure, I'll host a Halo party, and we would set up a couple routers.
Exactly.
Have like literally 9 TVs in like a living room, kitchen, and dining room, and have a bunch of crappy kids drinking tons of pop, and like, talk crap to my face. Like, let's see if you're actually good at this game. And it's such a different scenario. Like, I think it leads to more like better sportsmanship. It leads to like a real community, and like, I don't know. I totally back getting people out of their bedroom, and if you really want to be that involved with games, especially if you like to stream, not everybody can go to PAX. Not everybody can do that
Yeah.
stuff, especially the younger guys. If you can be that 16-year-old streamer who's super passionate and has like, you know, a nice enough set of parents that let you do that when you're done with your homework and stuff, to be able to go and physically be places and learn how to network at 16 as a streamer. Oh, I'm a streamer. That's like, that is legitimate nowadays. You can do that. You can set up a business for yourself at 16. But if you can show face and like give people business cards, like, hey, come check out my stream, that's super dope. And I think there's a ton of room for that, especially because there's so much money being thrown at video games. Like, somebody's gonna do it, bro. Like,
as well as that, it'll
somebody's
like create a big
absolutely-
push for esports as well. Like if they start like
Yeah.
hosting like tournaments and things like that, esports will just become more of a common thing. People will be walking in off the street in the GameStop stores and seeing a small esports league going on and be like, oh,
Make it more
You know,
legitimate
what
instead
is
of people
this?
making jokes about it.
Yeah.
Because at this point in time, like, you know, you still get a decent amount of people making fun of you know, esports, but then you stop and you think about it, and it's like, you don't think people thought the same thing when they saw someone running around in a circle out in a field?
Yeah.
Dude, whatever. The haters are gonna hate, bro. That 16-year-old kid just won $3 million playing
Yeah.
Fortnite. So you can laugh every day if you want.
That's kind of
Right.
how I was thinking about it. Like, you always hear, like, you know, big sports people going on about, oh, I started out when I was really young, you know, playing in my back garden and playing in a big open field that didn't even have any line markings. It's like in a couple of years, it'll be esports people going, oh yeah, I started out so small, I didn't have anything. I started off in small leagues in my local GameStop.
Yeah, I had a small league. I had a Celeron that could barely run League of Legends, and now look at me.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. I was getting diamond with freaking 2 FPS, dog. What up?
All right.
Running mid with soul balls all day.
Shut up. You're so not good with soul balls. I love you, though. So, on the talk of profits and all that good stuff, we have
That cash money.
that cash money. Yeah, we have Rockstar. Grand Theft Auto 5 is the most profitable entertainment product of all time. But apparently added on to that, they also haven't paid UK, and I'm assuming I would not be surprised if US as well, corporate tax in 10 years. So this is an interesting subject to me because, I mean, we all know it, right? We all know that there's tons of big businesses out there that just don't do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And pay corporate tax and actually pay the amount of money that they're supposed to pay to make it so their business is actually fine to have and be up and running. Well, with GTA 5, as of, what is this, 2019, there's 90 million sales and $6 billion in revenue for the game, which is absolutely nuts.
I never think about that. That's just GTA 5. When you try to think of their total, imagine what they're raking in off Red Dead as well.
I mean, Rockstar is making money. They're making that money, but we are finding out in, you know, these sort of sales figure earnings and the stuff that the people have to put out in public, we're finding out that maybe they're making that money in not so legitimate of a way. I mean, apparently they're not paying back corporate taxes over the last 10 years. They've received over 42 million in video game tax reliefs, which basically, if anybody doesn't know, you know, for certain video games, especially in the UK at least, I don't know if it happens as much in the US, but you can get certain reliefs for having certain things. And one of the things that GTA's been able to get are sort of cultural recognition sort of relief. So what were you saying, Kyle, about GTA San Andreas? Had a
Yeah,
part?
and because obviously the Rockstar company they're talking about is Rockstar North, whose headquarters is in Edinburgh in Scotland. In the original San Andreas, all the bridges were the bridges surrounding Edinburgh. I remember
Modeled off of
one
it, yeah.
time I went there, we were driving, you know, past some water, and there was literally a railway bridge and a car bridge right beside each other, and there were one for one the bridges from San Andreas. So because they're using so many like homegrown details and have so many English characters in their games, they'd pass that cultural test because they're kind of going, okay, you're representing, you know, a lot of things here, so we're going to give you this relief because you're showing us, you know, England exists. You're showing the influences.
You're showing England exists.
Yeah, you're showing England exists. So they'd kind of be like, okay, here's some money for that because you put a bridge in a game.
That's big money, dude.
I mean, no, like for sure. Like I definitely get it, but it's just. So I guess what I want to kind of talk about here, like, I mean, this isn't obviously probably going to be a huge topic, but I kind of wanted to get your guys' opinions on what is this? What does this mean? Is this something that's like is this something that should be going on in this day and age?
Yeah.
Is this something that should still be going on where you have one of the most profitable games and in terms of companies, probably one of the most profitable video game companies, being able to avoid paying certain taxes and getting relief because they have certain cultural sort of recognition in their games?
Yeah, so I have two opinions on this. The only really striking detail about this entire topic that was interesting at all to me is that Rockstar North is in Edinburgh, and that was it. I was like, oh, that's cool. I have a friend there. Good for them, I guess. But I think the real hinge here is that they were getting this relief, and then they hadn't actually been paying their taxes. So this isn't surprising because this is literally the problem that we're having with, like, quote unquote, though, at risk of sounding like a dirty liberal.
The 1%.
The 1%, like the tax cuts that we see during this current administration, and like, the tariffs in China that are going to help the little guy, but are putting most of rural America out of fucking business and work right now. Like, This is what billionaires do. And the reason why everybody is so scared of socialism in any way is because these are the people that make you fear it so they can keep. I saw the coolest thing I read recently, and I don't want to get too political because I'm sure it'll happen again on another topic. But somebody had said, it was a tweet or something, or it was in a tweet, and it was a reformed conservative, quote unquote. And he said something along the lines, and I'm paraphrasing, of, I'm starting to get on board with this Bernie Sanders guy's democratic socialism because it sure beats the hell out of paying out the same exact socialism to billionaires.
Yeah.
And that's exactly it. It's like you have these people that make no money in our country for sure, who are supporting these billionaires because they don't want socialism. They're taking our taxes. But who we're trying to tax are the people that are getting away with millions of dollars a year of what should be fixing our roads and fixing our infrastructure and paying out our current welfare instead of your money, you morons. So
I definitely agree with you there.
Gotta be, right. Well, that's got to be a huge hit on such a small country. Like anywhere in the UK is, I don't want to just like say they're small, but we're the most enormous country on earth. So like their funding looks like, it's funny to us. Well, to our billionaires, I guess, right? So, but to be able to claim that you can receive 42 million in tax relief and then just not pay taxes on top of almost half of your income, like not even being touched because you're culturally like, and I get it. Governments spend a lot of money to like basically market themselves, right? Fun fact, Thailand, the reason why we have so much Thai food in America and not that many Thai people is because they actually paid a bunch of people to make Thai restaurants to build their social brand. And so like it's a big business, and that's a huge slap in the face, like Cole says, to like a taxpayer. Like, first of all, like I want to be on board with, people making their money and doing their thing, but you're literally screwing over some really small people. Those markets in the UK are so little, and like Europe already pays so much in taxes compared to us, and we're over here bitching about 20%.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and it's like that chuckle is the realist, because like, okay, please take 20% of my income instead of 60 and all the other crazy rates over there, right? Like that's
what you think, when it comes down to
garbage, man. Like this is why this is such a big deal. At all. It's just like I can't believe somebody would take a handout and then just not pay the fair share when having a huge handout of not needing to pay so much in taxes. So claiming 42 million to not pay that and then just and get it you know. So 19% of all tax credit. Yeah, they were 19% of all of the tax credits for the game industry in the UK. That's insane.
And that's what I was about to say is, I think on this topic, I want to like express that I don't think anybody was surprised about this, because this is kind of where the world is. At least in a lot of these countries, the world is in a spot where, despite whatever your affiliation is in any sort of political view, a lot of people are agreeing that the 1% of people have way too much, and they're finding ways to get even more from it, right? And this isn't surprising to me, and I wasn't surprised when I saw this, and I didn't want to pick up the topic because I thought it was, surprising. We all knew that this was the case, right? We knew that everyone knows that GTA 5 has made a ton of money, and everybody knows that there are businesses out there that don't pay their taxes and stuff like that. I think that, like you said, the biggest thing was this relief that they were able to get from this. And it really makes you think, 19% of all tax credits. How many games out there, smaller games, were unable to get tax credits because maybe they had a good representation and they pay their taxes and they do all this stuff, but they weren't able to get a tax credit back because, they can only give out there's only so much of that can be given out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In a year, in a time period. And maybe they were shuffled under the rug and like, no, we can't give you this relief. And now that company doesn't exist anymore, or isn't going to be able to be profitable. And now that game that actually had some really interesting things and stuff that really showed a diverse sort of culture and stuff like that, or had a chance to make more games that are really cool and that people loved, now can't anymore, because you had Rockstar, who likes to seem like who really, really, really do like to seem like there's some sort of like, oh, look at all that we do for the game industry and all this stuff. But then they're screwing over these people that can't even, like, that's not helping the game industry.
Yeah, like, just mentioning, them being the 1% and trying to make even more money off the endless amounts that they have. I'm just after seeing a figure there from 2013 and 18, the total bonus pool for the top managers, was $3.4 billion. In bonuses.
That's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane.
Like, that's an extortionate amount.
It's really, I don't know. Like I said, there's not a whole lot that we can really talk about, because I mean, in Corey, you really covered it super well with that. But I think I just want to kind of talk about this to bring light and show show people, like, look at this is even happening video. Like, if you think that video games are exempt from this sort of thing happening, no, it absolutely affects you too. You're going to see...
Anybody was thinking that.
I mean, you'd be really surprised. There's tons of people that just don't that don't think that the video game industry is significant at all still. I mean, you have this...
Well, I think there's enough people in the industry that know that AAA companies are garbage and they've been doing this forever. So like, you look at EA and you look at like even like smaller like Activision, just Branch and stuff, and it's like, and then just like full on large companies that don't even bring a game to full fruition and release it for full price and stuff like that. It's like it's an incredibly exploitive like market, and it always has been. And like this one hits a little harder because it's kind of outside of the actual scope of the game. Like, sure, you release a crappy game or whatever, people paid for it, that sucks, boo on you, Fallout 76. But this is just like literally showing that these large companies are garbage, like all the other large companies that do stuff like this. And it's
that there's no one that's actually you can feel safe about.
Yeah,
that's
I still don't even think it's being covered here well. I think a lot of this stuff could be covered way better in a light that, in the way that I kind of put it to light. It's like, this is important because this is why we can't help our people. This is why we don't have good roads, because this is the entertainment industry. This is some video game crap. What is the gas companies doing who don't want us to have electric batteries?
It's true, though.
And like, this is such a small sector, and we're talking about billions of dollars. That's
what it is. I guess that's what I kind of meant. Not that it's that you wouldn't think of this sector in that way being like this much. And this is just one company as well that they're bringing into the figure here.
Yeah, and this is just one company of Rockstars because they have studios all over the world.
Yeah, exactly. This is just one. That was one studio for Rockstar and that have.
They have North, South. They have their main studio. I'm pretty sure they have one in Japan.
It's just it just really, I don't know. It really sheds a light that and you're exactly right. If this is happening on this scale in the sort of like, we knew it was happening entertainment, right? And then you have an even smaller subset of from entertainment to games, which is, yes, it's getting more and more popular. So now it's becoming even more and more significant because if you have even this small subset where now it's in billions of dollars that are being, messed with and like tax not being paid on and all this stuff, it's just showing you that all these other things are just so bad and we really need to start paying attention to it.
Want to hear something really fucked up?
Yes.
Just those higher ups that were getting those bonuses, this fat. What did you say? It was 3.4.
Yeah, 3.4 billion.
Yeah. So the GDP of Scotland is only 248.5 billion.
There you go.
So we're talking like 1%.
Yeah,
literally.
Like the top 1%
of the country's GDP. This dude got like a bonus over the course of 3 years?
Yeah.
That's insane. Like we have like 20 trillion in GDP in the US. Like we're talking a significant amount of taxpayer money and we're talking that's USD. The money that they were, that's pounds, right? That they were the 46 million is in pounds.
And at the moment it's still a little bit more than
2 million pounds, And that's over a couple of years, but we're still talking about over the 2017 19% of all of those tax credits. People aren't paying any of their it's just bonkers.
And I think it's kind of a good sort of segue into this next topic of, we're in kind of this like looking at it from a little bit of a political viewpoint, but also kind of, I don't know, a more serious topic. And I want to address this first off right now with this next topic. It's a little bit more serious, and if you're not something that you're not looking forward to, I'll provide a timestamp that we can skip this part, just because I know that for some people it might be a sensitive topic, but also at the same time, I really think people should kind of listen to what's going on because this does affect everybody. And while we're going to be talking about more the entertainment and video game and internet aspect of it, it is a very
it has a larger overall impact.
Yes, it's a very serious topic. And I want to start off just real quick as, in case anybody doesn't know, there was 2 really, really big mass shootings that happened in the United States. And I want to give, all my condolences to everyone that was affected by that. I think all of us here do. It's super big tragedy. We know that this stuff happens way too much in the States.
Yeah.
And it's to the point now where, I've talked to people here and they're afraid here just because they don't understand. And it makes them nervous. They're just like, why? Why is this happening? And I want to say, it's a scary situation right now. And while we talk on these subjects, I just want to, we do have the utmost respect for everyone that has helped with this and has, been donating blood and has been going out there and giving their time and their effort into helping these people that were affected by these. But anyways, related to these mass shootings, we had Donald Trump, President of the United States, release a statement where he kind of addressed them. And in one of the talking points that he brought up multiple times of this was that a lot of it was to deal with social media, the internet, violent movies and violent video games being one of the major causes for this, and there needing to be a massive sort of look at it, and they either need to be taken out or severely kind of
he says that they should be like pretty much banned or extremely censored.
Yeah. And I kind of want to while we're talking about this, I want to get your guys' like we have all the opinions on this thing as a whole, right?
Yeah.
And just so everyone knows, we are gonna focus more on the entertainment aspect as much as possible, but you have to understand, especially for someone like me and Corey, we're going to have a little bit more of a heartfelt opinion on it because we are the ones who are being affected by this very strongly. And but I kind of want to see how everyone feels about the aspect of like when it comes to talking about the internet and social media and video games, and that being sort of what was focused on as the issue for these shootings. I kind of want to see where everybody stands with that.
Well, I think I'll probably surprise you because my opinions on this are pretty tame. I wrote a paper in 2013 in college about this topic, and at that time, I looked at obviously crime rates. I looked at basically all the major studies that I could. It was like an 8-page research paper or something like that. I can try and dig it up if you really want. But I don't see, like, if you try to be objective and just like look at data, there's so little that actually supports that anything like this could be a correlation, especially when you're looking at like strictly just like the nature of empirical evidence and how you analyze. Like, there hasn't been a proper study done with the longevity, like a proper like longitudinal study with like all the locked in factors to be able to prove this. And it's just, I really think it's spending a lot of time focused like a scapegoat to talk about something that's not obviously like gun policy and stuff like that. But like there's maps about like national murder rates in the US from the 70s to the late 2010s, and it drops like 30% or something crazy.
Yeah.
Like it's somewhere in like the late 90s or the mid 90s where there's just a downtick, and it's so much less than these. And then there's a correlation graph on like video games spent per capita and then gun related murders per 100,000, and they have all of like I guess not all, but a bunch of heavy hitting countries in there, like the UK, Germany, China, Netherlands, I think Korea was on there, Canada and the US and stuff like that. And for there to be a true correlation on if video games were actually doing something, you'd see like a tighter correlation in general positively on that graph. And it literally just like, and maybe not strictly, but it would certainly be a lot more than what you see. It just looks like a full on scatter graph for, sure.
Yeah.
I think we spend like an astronomical amount, like probably like 90% more than a lot of countries on video games. So like the revenue that people get, or like I guess the spending, because I don't want to use revenue, they get like actual spending on video games.
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. I was gonna say.
So yeah, so like the actual consumer expenditure on video games versus the amount of like actual gun murders is problematic. We have also data completely unrelated to video games on how many gun related deaths there are. And I say gun related deaths because well over 50% of the actual gun related deaths in our country are suicides, and like far more than 50% of that are from men. And most of the like violent crime is like I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's really small, man. Like it's enough that like if you spent like an hour looking at data and cross-referencing like who did the studies, and on both sides there's unless you get like a hyper-focused study where people are talking about like your disposition after playing a violent video game, which I don't think is fair, because if you go watch a thriller movie that doesn't have to have murder in it, yeah, your heart rate is higher and you're thinking more. Like you envelop yourself in, so you're consuming something and you're putting yourself into that. Then you're going to have a total physiological reaction to what you're doing. It doesn't have to be murder. It could be literally like anything. It could be Tetris, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah, even with you saying that real quick, there were studies where they took that, and it actually surprised people because it showed more that people got some of those urges where they felt more prone to violence. There were studies that were done like during that, like, and after they played a game, and they felt like that urge that they had was quelled.
Yeah, it's like
because they felt like they got it out.
even in some of the early studies where they felt like felt like hyperaggression or anything, we're still dealing with individuals' disposition. There hasn't been enough longitudinal study on one section of variables to literally understand a correlation. So coming outright and saying, I believe there's a correlation, but that's complete speculation, and you're being an asshole. Like, you're straight up just it's sensationalism, especially the way like DJT said it on TV. Like, he came out like it was like a state of emergency, like this was the most important thing ever. And it's like, no, how about the reason why literally, okay, and this is the only part that I'll get political. The kid that murdered people in El Paso targeted brown people. He said he like his Twitter was riddled with like white supremacist like stuff that he followed. It was very he said it in his own words that he was trying to hurt brown people.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to talk about a correlation, I'm going to go with like perpetuating xenophobia is probably why people are being murdered right now. Why are most of the mass killings from a white guy? Like, this is like simple data. You can just like look at it.
I mean,
so I don't understand. Like, that makes more sense and is more of a hard correlation than like trying to bring up a 30-year-old case study that's been beaten to death and has gotten nowhere.
So yeah, and this is where, you know, I'll kind of say, like, yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Obviously, you know, you're going to have someone like me, you're going to think that I'm looking at it from a biased sort of standpoint and think that, oh, because I play video games, I don't want people to correlate, or I use the internet. But see, that it's just simply not the case for me, because there's so many other statistics that you can pull up and disprove this just based on, you know, looking at other countries and what they have. There are tons of other countries that have this sort of violent media, violent video games, they have complete access to the internet, and the amount of, you know, sort of killing sprees, gun-related crime, like anything related to that, like mass murders on that level, they're almost none compared to, you know, if you look at the United States. While then you can go and you can look at countries that have almost no access to internet, have almost like very, very limited to no access to video games and that sort of violent video games, have almost no access to violent movies and stuff like that. Like, all that stuff is completely censored, and they have some of the worst mass murder, gun crimes, and just like the worst statistics when it comes to violent crimes possible. Like, if you just look at it simply from that point, you can kind of get a sort of idea. Obviously, the U.S. is different, and you can, you know, bring up the argument of, well, you know, but the U.S. is different. It has more people. Maybe there is a correlation and stuff. But I mean, you can still look at any other country, and you'd think that you'd at least see some semblance of it. But when you can have two countries and one has massive amounts of violence present in all of their like, what was it? I think isn't it like Somalia is one of the worst places for when it comes to gun,
it's like
gun
Somalia
murder
or
and
like
stuff like
Swaziland or something like that.
And it has one of the worst. It also has some of the least amount of access to internet access and least amount to video games, and least, like, if you were to correlate the amount of in the entertainment industry in Somalia and Swaziland compared to anywhere else, you would see barely anything when it comes to the United States, right? And yet they have some of the worst sort of violent crime rates ever. If you saw, if there would at least be somewhat of a sort of corroborating evidence and statistics somewhere else related to this, if that was the case. I'm just sorry. It's to me, it cannot be internet, violent media or violent video games, or sorry, even if you want to believe that maybe that has a very, 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 very small effect on it, you can say that all day, but can we please look at what the actual major statistics that do influence it? Like you said,
it's like this
nationalism, supremacy of certain races.
It's very simple. It's very simple. So sure, maybe a kid plays Grand Theft Auto and realizes, wow, it could be really fun to hurt people, but that's when you go, what's this kid's disposition? What's the condition of his life?
Yeah.
Someone who's living even half decently. Like, I wouldn't say I had the best life, but
right.
We did decently okay, and we made it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't buy. I mean, you and me were talking about ripping each other's throats out of our necks in the front yard, acting like we were fighting in Mortal Kombat when we were 10.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
literally talking about some of the most vilely ways to kill a human being. And
we're two of the most against that people that I think that I've ever.
I don't even like fighting, and I'm a big guy. For those of you who don't know me, I'm 6'9". I'm a very capable, well-bodied human being, and I wouldn't ever use that to my advantage to get a gain on somebody. Like, that's pointless. It's just,
I couldn't even hunt animals. I feel too bad. Like, I've cried once for accidentally killing a snake. Like,
yeah, and it's like, well, it's a matter of, like, we're dealing with what people say is like desensitizing people, but I would like to think that a good, if we're going to talk about the mental state that somebody has when watching violence, and we only talk about the times where people feel more aggressive afterwards, we have to talk about every single time somebody feels empathy and sadness when they see this.
Yeah.
For a really weird, maybe stretching example, if we're talking about, like, I guess, like, how something like that could impact you, look at, like, the mental state of drone pilots who have to do and watch horrible stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, that doesn't desensitize them.
No.
Like, a lot of them get really bad PTSD and they have to deal with a lot of stuff because they see real, very horrible things. And I think, I don't know, I feel like saying that seeing violence desensitizes you to it is really throwing humans, who are the most complex creature, and, like, just consciousness in general, a huge just slap in the face. Like, it's disturbing that they want to lock into this one tiny thing, but they're not going to do any of the real work to try again. And even sidebarring all of that, it's just a scapegoat, man. Like, it's just people wanting to
it makes
throw
it easy.
Gaming under the bus so we don't have to try and get gun reform, because Bernie Sanders right now wants gun reform. He mentioned it just like yesterday.
Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. I was going to say that the only reason they're really saying, it's video games and movies and all these things are the issue.
The NRA and stuff. Like,
it's because if they didn't, they'd have to go, okay, we have to accept the fact that we're the problem, not some faceless invader.
We'll have to take, and we'll have to, instead of us, making major reforms to how we handle guns, how we handle mental health, how we handle sort of our nationalistic approach to things. Instead of dealing with that, we can just say, put a censor on internet and video games, and that'll make everything easy, right? Because that'll take care of it.
Yeah.
And
again, I think from both sides, it's a much deeper issue that people. This is why I don't like the teams thing in our current state of politics, because if you're like, I'm a social democrat or I'm a Republican, you're already wrong. You already lost the game. You chose a side who hasn't proven that they're correct on literally anything.
Yeah.
And you have to talk about stuff from policy to policy. I believe that there is room to make some regulations on firearms, but I also don't think that firearms are the problem. And I'm also a part of an entire community of people that only use firearms as sport. Because I shoot a bunch of videos for sponsored 3-gunners. I'm very close to some manufacturers that make slides for weapons. I actually know the guys that did the Glock slides for John Wick. Like, those are personal friends of mine. They live in the town that I currently live in, and so you can't just say, well, I think assault weapons are the problem, because assault weapons aren't the problem either. And again, an AR does not mean assault rifle. A lot of gun crime is going to come from more accessible firearms than an AR. Sure, there are definitely people that have been hurt from ARs because they are pretty easy to get. But maybe if you're getting something crazy and semi-automatic, you should just go through as easy as it is to still get a pistol, but at least we know that you're registered and licensed. And people are like, well, that's gun control and stuff. And maybe. But if you're not the problem and you already have a CPL, then going to get an AR is still going to be easier than hell.
Good. Yeah.
But that psychopath that literally will just go to a Walmart and buy one, at least he needs a background check and stuff, man. Like, and I still think that's like where I try to find the middle ground, because if you make that illegal, hunting shotguns can load up to 12 shotgun shells. And if you've ever seen a 3-gunner or somebody who shoots skeet for sport reload a shotgun, I can guarantee you they can get off the same amount of rounds as some idiot who barely knows how to use a gun can fire off 120 AR rounds. I guarantee it. Who's dabbling in the sport, can probably get off more rounds out of a shotgun than somebody with a bump stock on a freaking AR. Dead ass, like just straight up.
I think what it comes down to as well is, like, listen, no matter what you're, so like me personally, I don't, if you have a weapon as defense, if you have, a weapon for sport, I do think that there should be, reform on how easy it is for you to access it, what you have to do if you do have access to it, like maybe have some sort of training, have to get your license, like you were saying, stuff like that. I mean, at the end of the day, let's all be honest. If there was no guns in the United States, if all of them were completely just wiped out, the amount of gun crime, of course, would drop. I mean, but that doesn't mean that guns themselves are the issue.
You'd see a rise in other forms of crime, though.
Yes, it doesn't mean that guns is the issue
again,
with it. But
it's something it's like all the other topics. It's something that needs to be discussed, and not like two people take a side and then they die on that hill, because it's not worth dying on that hill.
And that's what I was about to say.
Like, that's a non-issue. Like, gun ownership, in my opinion, is a non-issue when we literally have money to be helping sick people and poor people.
Yeah.
And we have all the stuff we can be doing besides scapegoating video games and spending taxpayer money on studies to try and figure out whether or not me playing freaking Tetris is going to make me want to strangle someone. Like,
yeah,
and
maybe because it's hard and it's competitive now, and I can't believe they turned Tetris into an esport. But God, like, so what if I want to strangle somebody after playing Tetris? Man, it's hard. There's a bunch of Chinese hackers on there.
I will say this though, there are games out there that would trigger someone to kill someone. Because I've had close calls while playing Monopoly. I'm not gonna lie.
I think in all honesty, it comes down to, you're gonna have stuff that triggers certain people, and you're gonna have obviously that's gonna happen. It's gonna happen with anything, though. I mean, at some point, someone could see a red shoe, and it could trigger something in their mind if they're in a certain mental state, and it'll cause them to cause murder. You know what I mean? Like,
I think we're looking at the wrong thing. I think Kyle's onto something. I think board games.
Board games.
Yeah,
or what it is.
board games.
But
you ever play Catan, dude? With me raging, dog. I almost killed my best friend's mother playing Risk once, dude. This is real. We are on to something.
Yeah.
On this subject, I want to get an actual real sort of approach, though, and kind of get an opinion from someone that doesn't live in the U.S. and kind of give us without us, worrying about, obviously we're not going to, say what you're right or wrong.
Yeah.
We're to see how we talk. I want to get what you, as an outsider looking in, what you see when you look at the issues right now in the U.S. and what you think can be done.
Like, before I say anything, like, I have very limited knowledge on U.S. laws and people's opinions and all of that stuff and the schisms in groups. I have no idea about it all. I just see the bare bones of it.
Right.
So when I look at it, it's like, okay, you could ban guns outright, gun crime will drop, but you'll see a rise in knife crime. You look at England, you look at different parts of Europe where guns are heavily regulated, there's a large amount of knife crime. That's just how it works. You can't shoot someone, you'll stab them. So I feel like outright banning wouldn't do anything. I think just heavy regulation on it. I use Norway as an example. In 2011, they had the really bad mass shooting. There was 67 people killed. They didn't outright ban guns. They just put higher regulation on them. So if you went to buy a gun, there was background checks, you were monitored. When you bought a gun, it was pretty much going, right, we're going to pay attention to you because we know you have a gun. And we know what guns can do. You're welcome to get one, but we're just going to keep an eye on you. Like, if you have some sort of mental illness or go to therapy, you're less likely to get access to a gun. And I think that's kind of the best way to do it. Is kind of just go, right, we just need to pay attention to this more. yes, there's more important things to be doing, but this is a problem that we'll have to address at some point. And when we do, we shouldn't stop every people from getting it, but we shouldn't let everyone have a gun. Like you said, Corey, you know, if you're into that kind of thing, you're welcome to get it. If, when you're checked and evaluated, you are fine with it. Like if it's a case that you get your background check, maybe you have to do like a day course that's like an hour long. Like when you get done for road rage, you have to go to a road rage kind of thing for a day just to kind of be like, don't do that, it's bad. So that way it would stop people who would have the tendency to do something like that, because it's not a case that people just go, oh, you know what, I'm just going to go kill a bunch of people today. It's something that's there in the back of your mind. When people snap, psychologists say that it's because there is already something there. It's like letting a pot boil over. So it's something that you have to really pay attention to.
Yeah, I think some of that's fair, and it's definitely should be a part of the conversation, but it's still interesting because I would almost argue, and this is another totally different problem with our country for sure, is that like I would say if somebody's going to therapy, they should be completely allowed to get a gun. And I think
it depends on the therapy.
Yeah. Well, no, exactly though, but right, because I think most people should probably be getting therapy. I think most people should take mental health way more seriously. And again, social programs that we should be putting money in is making sure people don't hate themselves and have a good, you know, if we're the best country in the world, quote unquote, why aren't we making our people the best people in the world?
And I think that comes down to, though, you're looking at something where it comes to I not that I think that mental health is the sole issue, because I know a lot of people have issues saying, oh, it's just mental health, because a lot of people have mental health and don't do these things. I do think, though, that it is something that has to be addressed. And there should be access to easily get mental health, because there are countries that it is taking seriously.
If I want to build out an AR and do 3-gun, and I'm seeing a therapist regularly, I have completely regulated, because these people are obviously certified to do what they're doing. I have all of this data to prove that I'm probably in pretty good state of mind.
Yeah,
right.
That's kind of how I meant it. Like, to say if you're going to therapy for anxiety, it's like, okay, sure, you have a gun. You're not gonna lose your mind because you're a little anxious. But if you're having a personality disorder,
it's like people are talking about mass shootings happening, and they're like, well, some people are like, oh, well, it's just their mental health. And then some people are like, well, it's terrorism. It's like, well, if it is the mental health, why are we just going over it like, oh, well, he's just crazy?
Yeah.
Why actually addressing it?
And then I wanted to say another thing. This happens a lot, especially when I talk to, through camp. I've got a decent amount, even more than I used to, because I already had a decent amount of friends that aren't native to America.
Yeah.
And the real struggle, and even within America, when people are trying to defend their statements by what Norway is doing, or what Denmark is doing with social programs and policy and stuff, you got to remember Norway has barely over 5 million people. New York City has over 8 million people. So we're talking, people don't understand this. Like, people are like, yeah, well, the States is big, so we're trying to govern literally the difference between somebody in New York City, let's say Long Island guy is, in the south of France, and then this other guy who's in Nebraska, he's over in Russia. And we're trying to treat both of those people like they're the same guy, and that they have the same upbringing, and that they should be governed by the exact same rules because they have the exact same quality of life. That's bonkers.
I
we need to address. That's why we just need to address policy, and we need to figure out we need to take it more seriously, because people they hit these big talking points, and that's all they focus on, and we're never going to get anywhere with gun violence or video game violence or any of the stuff we talked about, taxes. We're not going to get through any of that if we're just looking at these big Spark Notes versions of the problem and saying, well, this is probably a good way to approach it. Fuck with that for 10 years and tell me how the outcome looks. Well, that's not doing anything. We can, instead of focusing on all this other stuff, why don't we start rolling out programs to make sure people are not crazy?
Yeah.
And they're not losing their mind. And then we can, start trickling through a couple other minor problems and getting the ball rolling and all that stuff. But we can't, because people are afraid that billionaires will be poor one day. So socialism's a bad idea. Social programs are the worst thing for all countries.
I think when it comes down to it is I get what you're saying, and I do agree, but I think the people that are smart and that are addressing it the way that you are, when they are bringing up those points, I think only the people that are dumb and misinformed and are just saying stuff are the ones that are saying, oh, look at this country, that just means we got to do what they do and everything will be fine. I think the reason why people are bringing this up is because they're saying, at least when it comes to me, is I'm saying, look at what this country tried to do to fix the problem. We have to try something instead of nothing.
Yeah, when I say I don't mean like straight up copy, I mean it more so like take inspiration from
do something to change it instead of doing nothing. Right. That's what I think it comes down to.
I just wanted to address that topic in general. Like because I agree with you. I think we should look at how other things work. But then I think we should also recognize like how that like plan would work, how we need to govern certain sections of the country, and how we can. But again, when we have these public arguments or we have any kind of discourse politically, what the vast majority of our sees is this show that gets put on, and it's not a real topic. So we have like funny money. We're talking Rockstar is evading taxes for 42. You know, they're getting a credit for 42 million pounds, but that's like funny money compared to the people that are paying the government to keep discourse in their favor. Like, that's the okay. Well, I hate all these liberals. A lot of those liberals are plants, dude. A lot of those like college kids that are like, well, I think we should have free money. They go on that show and they're paid, and like that, people are going to be like, wow, tinfoil hat liberal. No, because I also hate a ton of liberal discourse. I don't think it gets us anywhere. Again, I don't think calling yourself either way is a good. I'm speaking pragmatically, and what I think would actually help is people's not taking sides and actually figuring out what a problem solution looks like. Critical thinking.
Yeah, it's comes down to too is when it comes to that. People think that you have to lean, like you said, they have to like completely be one way, and it's simply like if you say I want to see something change with our gun policy, or I want to see people stop focusing on video games and internet as the reason there's an issue, and focus on mental health and gun control and nationalism and stuff like that. You have people that automatically will tune out everything the rest that you say and just be like, oh, he's a dumb lefty, he's a dumb or you'll have the same way when people say, listen, I don't think it's guns, I think it's this, and I think that, and instead of, the left side saying, oh, well, okay, well, let's actually talk about what's going on, you have them instead say, like, oh, you're just a bigot, and you hate this, and you want people to die. And what you're doing is, like you said, you're creating a discourse, and you're making people fight. And I think that's why it's important when it comes to the politics and these people that are, running for certain offices and stuff like that. If we stop and if you look at it like this, you have these people that always complain because there are certain people that will say the same thing every time they're asked a question, and they'll go, you just answer it the same way, and you just keep wanting, like,
this is the for example. This is the problem with even what you're saying, is because the house always wins, dude. And we're literally dealing with people that have funny money creating what this discourse even is. It's all fabricated stuff.
Yeah,
like,
and
the issues we're having is all fabricated, and it's all been around since well before Reagan. Like this.
Oh yeah, it's been around for a long time.
It's basically the new church, right? Because church doesn't work anymore because it's socially acceptable to be an atheist.
Right.
So how do we do it? We get all these liberal agnostic kids fired up about some bullshit, and it's really easy to rile people up, and then it's easier to show the other side the riled upness to a fake caricature degree. Like, the it's basically the meme of the 30-year-old soccer mom who wants to speak to your manager. It's like you show that person and you're like, this is what a liberal looks like, and then you're like, this is what a racist MAGA guy looks like.
Yeah.
And it's like it's the roots are too deep for us to address even a little bit of how it all functions together. But if you're talking about one topic, and to think that you can compartmentalize it as a human being is insane, because you can't, because it's all connected. It's all like all the political climate and discourse and policy and everything is all entirely interconnected, and you're not going to be able to function, on tackling the big issues, because you actually have to roll out all the little stuff to where, and eventually get to a point where some of this stuff is broken down. I mean, people think that we're in such a horrible state but we're still living in the greatest time that human beings have ever existed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like,
I tell people that every day.
Yeah. And that's a really great thing for me to say in a place of privilege, because I'm a white American man who's got a deep voice and I'm 6 foot. Not like, what the fuck do I have to worry about? I could be poor like I am all I want, but I can still walk into a job and basically nail anything I want. Like, the world is literally my oyster, and I know that. But that's why I can use my privilege to talk to people like me and say, this is why we need to do that. You're dealing with people that are like impoverished and, you know, some kind of oppressed, because there's so many different types of people that are oppressed in a different way. And even, yes, poor white people can be oppressed too. But the issue with trying to compartmentalize all these issues and then deal with it and then try to say, well, maybe they should put themselves in a better situation, is basically minimizing the structures that all the privileged people do have.
Yeah.
And to move everybody forward, some of those structures have to go away. That's why people have such a big problem with the white supremacists right now. Like, why people are literally like, I have so many friends on my social media that are like ready to throw down because, like, no, I'm sorry, I pay so much money to be at my university that if somebody I know is a Nazi, I'm not platforming them. And then you get these guys that like freaking Crowder and Ben Shapiro and stuff, and it's like, wow, you're gonna take away free speech? It's like, no, it's not free speech, because I pay literally tens of thousands of dollars to be here, and he can go speak at the State House if he wants his freedom of speech, but I'm not letting him talk here. I'm letting him know he's not welcome here. He's not welcome at my institution, because I disagree. I think diversity and culture is something white Americans completely lack in so many ways, and the only way we're going to get better is to have more of that. So it's like, holy shit, man, like what the hell are you going to do if you're going to play the victim card, but then also tell the most oppressed people in our country that they have to do something about it, when it's literally a structure that we completely control? And then it all trickles back down to billionaires pay literally countries' GDP's worth of money to make sure that we have two teams and only two teams, and you're either my team or their team, and if you're not, then I'd rather you die in the street than me be your friend. And it's like, you can all fuck off, because last I checked, we have literal concentration camps for only brown immigrants, and there are hundreds of thousands of white immigrants from Eastern Europe and all over the place that are causing crimes and kidnapping people and doing like human trafficking and bringing drugs in here, and we don't have a single one of those motherfuckers locked up. So tell me again, please, how it's not a race issue.
You're 100% right, and I actually don't think I could agree more with you in this same time. But I also kind of want to rein this back a little bit to the I knew that it was going to get a fiery political topic, but I kind of want to end this real quick with on the point that we were trying to make here with related to what this podcast is about. Just to pull it back here a little bit. Like I said, I agree with what you're saying. Let's pull it back. I know it's a fiery subject. I know it's a fiery subject, and my heart rate is going now because I'm all about it.
I can tell Cody's getting worked up because he's getting fidgety in his chair.
Yeah, I was fidgeting around the whole time you were talking.
Picking up off his chair, like, and moving around.
But
you haven't been in the States long enough, man. It's been wild over here.
Yeah, I know. It's trust me. I mean, the other day I was. You can ask Becca. I was walking around and I was like I'm actually so mad with how the state of things are going right now. And like she was saying something and I said to her, I was like I get that for you, how it feels for you, but like I'm so upset because it's me, it's my stuff. And as much shit as I'll give America on any day of the week about anything, I do that because it's me and it's because I care about it and I want it to be better. It's not because, like, you know, you have that whole sort of spiel that people say, like, go somewhere else and live somewhere else. And it's like, yeah, I can do that all day, but that doesn't mean that I don't want that to be better still. Like, I'm living in Ireland right now. It doesn't mean that I don't want America to be better for everyone that's there. It's called being a decent fucking human being.
Sounds like you hate my country to me.
Anyways, though, when it comes on the topic of the internet and stuff like that, I think to kind of like end it all off and to tie that in what you were saying is I saw something really good, and it was talking about how it was a meme pretty much saying, you know, people are talking about how it's the internet, media, and violent video games that are the issue with us and why we feel the way we do. but they seem to forget that in 2001 we had a public event on our TV where we just showed thousands of people dying in a horrible tragedy.
Yeah.
And then every single day, it seems like there's something on the news about a mass murder and stuff like that, and we show these images and we talk about it. And you're going to talk about how you want to censor video games and internet and all this violent stuff from that happening, but then every day you'll have people come onto TV and shout about how these people are like this, and these people cause bad things, and these people are invading us, or these people are racist and bigots, and we should kill these people, or we should save these people, or we should kill...
Like, ignore the people inciting violence and blame video games instead.
And like,
it's classic propaganda, man.
And you can have that, you can talk about it's video games and violent video games and violent movies all day, but we show violence on TV every day from the news, and are you telling me that that's not... Like, real life stuff isn't what's causing some of our issues?
Yeah.
Is it only... It's only fake stuff that people most of the time can differentiate between real and fake. That's what's causing it, and not the real stuff that we see every single day on our media. That's all. I think that's kind of what I wanted to, like, the main thing is when it comes to that is, yes, there is a chance that violent video games and violent movies are, like, could be somewhat of a problem, but there are so many other issues that are affected.
For individuals.
Yes, for certain individuals. But
there's
also,
no direct correlation that it's brainwashing people.
Yeah.
Right.
So it has to be pre-existing conditions for a video game to make you turn violent.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw the best meme that I've seen in the last week. I really, really loved it. It was like, I think it was something along the lines of like, a boomer's like, why the hell do you like think life is so horrible? And it's like, I don't know. When I was 10, I watched 2,000 people die on TV, and life really hasn't gotten better.
Yeah, yeah. That's that's kind of what I was kind of like quoting a little bit, but just in my own way.
Hot day. What a hot take. You right?
But yeah, it's a tragedy, and I just think instead of using these tragedies and saying let's focus on something that has a potential to maybe almost affect some people sometimes, let's focus on this tragedy fixing the things that we 100% know are the issue, or at least mostly know that there's a big cause of it being.
I think I have a solution for all of the world's problems.
What's that?
Right? So every, say, 5 years, every country picks a champion. Right? And we take them out to, like, the Sahara Desert, and we have, like, a battle royale game.
Oh my god, I knew it was.
And then the winner rules the world for the next 5 years.
Battle royales are canceled, dude.
But that just means that the most physically fit person is going to win.
Yeah, but then we'd have a world leader that does Fortnite dances.
Okay, yeah.
You could be more. You could win with cunning. No, but like so.
And if it's in the desert, like, as well, like, you know,
it's more a disservice to people in general, and it's more insulting that they would take such a serious thing and try to scapegoat it off on like most people's just like casual release. Like, that's minimizing the problem so much, and I think really that's my huge issue with it. It's like, you're really going to take a very serious topic, and you're just going to try and scapegoat it off on video games to get by the next year until the election cycle. So when the election cycle happens, you could say, well, they're going to take your guns and we're not, so vote for us. I don't want my fucking country to be run by a guy that was his win condition. Like,
I really don't. And
that's like losing in Magic the Gathering to a guy that has sort of nothingness. Like, oh, wow, cool. I'm glad I built this army and we were doing a freaking 4-way battle, and this guy was sitting there doing nothing besides trying to get mana for an artifact to win the game. Like, oh my god, I hate everything.
It's like saying it's just as much of a slap in the face, you know, to be like, at the end of it, I'll be like, actually, I think the reason why there's so much mass violence is because of tuna fish sandwiches, and there's, you know, that mercury that's in tuna fish is just, it's causing everybody to just go crazy.
No, guys, it's board games.
Oh yeah, it's board games. Sorry, it's board
games.
First
of all, the mercury thing is probably more reasonable.
I know. That's the funny thing is that's why I said it, because I was like, I'm gonna get something that's kind of reasonable to make you really question it. Anyways,
Valley, dude, that's probably all the violence in Port Hero.
Anyways, off it. We're done. We're done with this.
Right.
Let's go on to something less serious.
So I'll tell you what, guys. I gotta jet pretty soon. So if I can kind of take the reins, I'd really like to talk briefly about the casting for Halo.
Yeah, perfect. Let's do that.
Yeah, so I do everything I can to not see trailers. I don't watch trailers to video games. I don't watch trailers to films. I don't even like to read what people are saying about stuff before I see it or play it.
I'm the same way.
In
I'm
in my
the
opinion,
opposite.
in my opinion, anything is a spoiler. And
Yep.
my best example to explain why I get so frustrated with this is when Star Wars Episode 7, A Force Awakens came out. In the trailer that I just tried so hard to not see, there was a pan in the desert, and it had Darth Vader's crushed, burnt helmet in the desert sand. And I was like, wow, I really fucking wish I didn't just see the most prolific basically the main character of the Star Wars movie franchise's helmet in a film that I didn't think he was necessarily going to have a role in. And I went,
Yeah.
okay, whatever, I'm pissed. Then I go see the film in theaters on opening day, and there's a moment that they tried to make really grandiose where Kylo Ren is like looking at the helmet on a thing. It's not the exact scene, but guess what happened in the theater when that moment happened? I went, oh, that's the helmet I saw in that trailer.
Yep.
Instead of, holy shit, that's Vader's helmet. That's sick. Which is
Yeah.
how I should have reacted. That's exactly how I should have reacted. I remember to this day being in the theater and having Vader's helmet land on his face for the first time in Revenge of the Sith. A guy behind me was giggling. He was so excited. And me and my best friend Ty were watching it like we know it's nothing, and we're on the edge of our seat like, holy crap, this is the moment that had made one of the most important movie trilogies for me. And it was really epic. And I didn't see that in a trailer, thankfully, because it would have totally took the impact of that moment away. So when I hear anything about new Halo game, the show, I was like, I'm gonna walk away. I don't want to know anything about it. Fortunately, again, there's not too much to know about it. But I was really excited in this particular time to see who the hell they would even cast for any of this.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I'm impressed. I'm impressed with the choices. I'm impressed with like the diversity of the cast, because as a filmmaker, a lot of the conversations you'll have when you're like gearing up to try and make a short or do something is like, it's Hollywood's a bunch of white guys, right?
Yeah.
So people are not necessarily trying to perpetuate that any longer, right? So it was cool to see like a good chunk. I haven't seen Skyscraper, but I've seen The Wire a little bit, and so I don't necessarily know this dude playing Master Chief. But from what I've seen, I'm so excited because I think just like the image, he's just like white guy.
It's
He just-
Pablo Schreiber or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
Schreiber, yeah.
Yeah,
And
he plays Mad Sweeney in American Gods.
word, yeah, and I haven't seen that either. My buddy really, really loves American Gods, but just like looking at it and looking at his other roles, I don't think he was too big. I think that's gonna work out really well. I lost it when Bokeem Woodbine was on it, because that dude is like the sleeper in any movie he's in. He's so good. He was in like Payday 2. He was a character in Payday 2.
I didn't know that.
He was in Black Dynamite. He was in Riddick. He played George Washington on Drunk History. Like, and anytime you see him, he's just like he's it's that fucking guy. And he's always just so good. And I don't really know too much of his story, but like literally every time I see his face, I only have like positive vibes about him. I'm like, that dude's so good every time I see him, whether he's playing like some gang banger guy, because I mean obviously he gets typecast to that. He's a hard motherfucker. But yeah, it's super cool. Natasha Kolzak's gonna be dope. Natasha McElhone's gonna be Cortana, and I don't know if you've seen too much of her stuff. She's like, her face, but you gotta look up what she's in.
She's one of those people.
Yeah, it's how I felt about her, but she's great, and I feel like the vibe. I just feel like they did such a good job casting that I hope like the direction and everything for it's as good as it can be, because this is something that obviously for me, I a little background for me is like my esports intro was I went harder than hell in Halo 2 and Halo 3. Like I would come home and practice with like my quote unquote crappy team every day until dinner, and then my mom would let me do homework after dinner, because I would always get my homework done as long as I could get that time to play Halo right after school. So like Halo's a lot for
The days.
Yeah, man, like it was it's pretty exciting stuff. It looks pretty good.
And it's Showtime that's making it as well, and they always, whenever they put anything out, it's always really good quality. They don't really try to half-ass things.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, for sure.
I'll put in my quick 2 cents before I let Kyle go on his tangent with it, because
I only had one more thing, which was at least Otto Bathurst, who did like Peaky Blinders and stuff.
Yeah.
Is directing it, so at least it's not like just Guy that maybe did a couple movies. He's done very successful series,
Right.
And I think that'll be like instrumental. It's not completely sucking, but as far as everything else goes, like it's set up to do well. So I'm just gonna wipe my mind of it until it's released, and then I'm gonna watch it as soon as it drops.
My opinions on this is, for one, I was a real big fan of Halo 1 and 2. Mostly just the multiplayer aspect of it. Didn't really care for the story of the first one I cared about. And then everything past that I just barely dabbled in. So I'll be honest, this isn't something that like I'm like losing my shit for. I'm not like super like, oh my, but I will say, for my little point that I'll get here is, I'm really, really happy that it seems though that they're putting in a lot of effort and care into these video game shows that are coming out recently, and I'm really happy that this is going to be another sort of show for video game players, that they have something that they can look at and really appreciate. And I'm all for it. Based on what I've seen, it like from the cast, it seems like it's going to be really good, and they got good people for it, so I just hope it does really well. Other than that, though, I have not much to add when it comes to Halo. So, Kyle, you go ahead and give your opinion now on it.
Halo, because I knew it was a thing for a while. It's been announced for over a year now, I think, at this point. Even longer, probably.
The show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I completely forgot about it until this casting came out. But now I'm kind of putting it up there with The Witcher when it comes to excitement. Because obviously, you know, I love The Witcher and stuff like that, but I grew up with Halo.
Right.
I remember in primary school, when I was like 9, been the last day of school before the summer holidays, and like going with my mates and, you know, getting money that morning and going to the store and buying a bunch of just like junk food, and then going back and just playing the entirety of Halo 3 on the hardest difficulty with all the skulls turned on. Just in like one sitting. And it's just been the best time ever. And I've played every other Halo game after that. Even the ones that aren't the best, I still thoroughly enjoyed, just because it's Halo. It has that sweet spot in my heart. So when these castings came out, it was like, I was scared to click it. I was like, I'm worried when I click this what I'm going to see. But I'm glad I did, because it's amazing people. Like you said, there's Natasha Alone. I looked at her IMDb back when I first looked at it. She looks well enough. I think she'll be, because she's playing Cortana and Halsey. She's playing both of them, which I think is a cool little detail.
Yeah. Well, and like, so it's just wow, I totally lost my train of thought. Sorry. Nope, lost it. That's it.
It's gone. It'll come back to you. But yeah, and as you said, like Bokeem Woodbine, he's fantastic as well. So I'm really happy with that. And then I seen that Pablo What's His Face is Master Chief.
Yeah,
and that's what sold me on it.
Yeah, I think what I was gonna say was, I think it's just really interesting, because with something that I care so much about, and I really did care so much about the story, there's not, in my opinion, really too many people to actually like grab onto and be like, oh, I hope they cast him like this, you know, like the Spartans are always so can be anybody, but I wonder who they're gonna be kind of deal.
Yeah.
And because there's so much like kind of extended universe stuff, and there's just so much content now, like they can take it. Really, I'd be happy with anything as long as it's decent, and like the fine details are very Halo. Because I'd be interested. I don't like necessarily want to see it just be like combat evolved. It's obviously not gonna be.
Yeah.
Because we don't have like keys and stuff. But that's a good thing in my opinion, because it's open to just be anything. Especially because it's military. Spartans are just these soldiers, right? So. You give us the familiar faces, like it's going to be really cool to see Cortana in live action and stuff like that. So, for empty expectations and really not knowing how the hell they could cast it, to see the cast and feel really comfortable about it for me.
Yeah, that's the same. Like, it has a really good lead cast. It's not like they've put big names in there to make it sound impressive. It very
Yeah,
much
it's
seems
like-
like they went with people who fit the roles best.
Right, yeah, it seems like they're very tried and true actors, but it's not like, oh, starring. Just-
Yeah,
I don't,
it's
I don't
like
want that. I
They're
don't
not
want
selling
like
it on name power.
Dwayne the Rock Johnson is Master Chief.
I wish.
That would actually be pretty cool.
No, he's so bad. He's the same guy in every movie. He just plays Dwayne the Rock Johnson. I just got done.
He's
watching,
good though.
I binge watched all 4 seasons of Ballers on HBO recently, like last
Oh.
week, and because I really really like both football and Dwayne the Rock Johnson, and I got to like season 3 and I was like, this man is just always Dwayne the Rock Johnson. I was gonna say I wanted to thank you guys for having me. I didn't think that it would be a 2-hour, like 2.5 hour.
Yeah, neither did we.
It happens every time.
Yeah, sorry for the dank rambles, but it was definitely a lot of fun, and I'll come back if you'll have me some other time.
Oh yeah, we'd love
For
to.
sure.
I mean, whenever you're free and able, like we would love to have you on. I think that you always give good talking points, and it was awesome having you on here and having you go on those tangents.
Yeah. You go on tangents,
That-
but they're really good to like bounce off.
Yeah.
Hopefully the viewership you do have doesn't go, well, I'm done with this.
I mean, they probably will
like
anyways,
that
but
I hated that guy, never coming back. But yeah, thanks for having me. I'm gonna jet, and I guess I'll talk to you guys soon.
all right, yeah. Thanks for being on. And when it comes to everyone else, we hope that you guys enjoyed this super long and intense podcast.
Extra long.
A lot of interesting topics. Please give us your feedback, and we would if you want to see Corey on here again, please let us know, and we'll get him on as soon as we can. Thank you guys so much for listening.
You're the best.
We love you,
A lot.
and see you next week. Bye
And
bye.
I'm sorry.
Bye.
Bye.